Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Pokemon SoulSilver. In the last part, we cleared our way through 2 gyms in the Kanto region and made our way to Celadon City. And now we're gonna explore the rest of this town that we did in last part. By and large, there's not too much to worry about, though you can catch Grimers here in the water in front of this dude's house. The main things of note here in town are its own game corner and the gym. The game corner, though, isn't much to write home about. It has different rewards than the one in Goldenrod, but it's still only not Victory Flip, Voltorb Flip. Though in the Japanese version, there were still slots here once again. Yo, legend in the making! You play this coin game too? I've been trying to put the prize Pokemon, but it's tough to beat. Do I think the Pokemon here are worth getting in the TMs? Yes and no. The biggest thing you can do here is that if you want to get more EVs without having to breed the one you've already raised up, you can do that here for I think like 6,000 coins each. And I can't even say it'd be faster than breeding because breeding doesn't take that much time at all, honestly. Neither does hatching the eggs. It's kind of weird. I guess you can get Porygons here, because I don't think you can get them at the other one. I think the most expensive Pokemon at the other game corner is Dratini. So I guess if you're trying to do everything you can on one file, you could only get Porygon through this from memory, but oh well. There's also this guy here who can tell you what type your Pokemon's hidden power move will be if you're looking for specific ones there. Taking into account IVs and all that. So for instance, Mortises would be fighting, which isn't too bad in general. Again, though, IVs and all sorts of stuff goes into hidden power, so your Pokemon's, your Gengar's hidden power might not be the same as mine. In fact, more than likely, it won't be. I do like that they at least have a way to tell you. In fact, I think since that move's been introduced, there has been. If there weren't, that move would just be a pain in the ass. Nom 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 nom, the Eat-a-thon contest! I've never dreamed of such a wonderful thing. After a strict diet during training, I can eat like a Hippowdon. The inner eat's for free, too. That's just a dream come true. If you're wondering why that random NPC is weirdly unique looking, it's because they're another Gen 4 gym leader, like how Crasher Wake was last part. They're weirdly the only 2 gym leaders that show up here, though, from Sinnoh. Which it just feels weird to have, like, only 2 and not at least, like, half of them show up in some form. Mind you, now that I think about it, they did pull a similar thing in the opposite direction in Gen 4. 2 specific Johto gym leaders, I think, show up if you play through that, just seemingly at random. So, Now, if you're wondering what that jump cut was as I grab this PP up, as you see, there's a tree there. We need to use Cut to reach the gym here in Celadon. Kanto's a bit weird in that there's some gyms that either need an HM or can be made easier with HMs. It's the only time they really actively did that. And at least they use it to good effect since they know you're going to need an HM to enter. You also need it in the gym itself in this case. Aha, this gym is great. It's full of strong trainers. Congratulations for no longer ogling woman, old man. You've grown in 3 years. Unless you're a different old man, the last one died, in which case, nothing was lost. Erika's gym is noticeably missing the legend in the making because he's back at the game corner gambling. Is weird in that it's just a matter of finding out perspective and trying to figure out your way around a mini maze. Only, I think, 1 fight is required here, and it's towards the end of it. Even though I think there's still a way to avoid it if you use Cut a second time. I admit I like this layout better than what Erika's gym usually is, because it's usually just a circle of trees that you need to use Cut to enter. This at least implies a challenge. The gyms they updated for Heart Gold Soul Silver do feel really good when they are updated. Speed up theme for this part, by the way, is the battle theme for Tales of Xillia 2. Which is one of those that's like 6 words long and I can't remember. It's like the sword doesn't bend or some shit like that. But last Michelle here's got a new Pokemon. This is Jumpluff. This evolves from Skip Bloom at level 27. Grass flying type, so it is weak against flying, poison, rock, fire, and ice. Immune to ground. Ice is a 4 times weakness, by the way. This is a very fast Pokemon with some good enough defense stats, I guess, but it has nothing behind its attacking or HP to really back that up. And from memory, it's one of those, thanks to it being grass type in any regard, where a lot of its moves that it learns aren't outright damage moves, they're usually status related. Grass type really is the most limited type, I feel like, overall in the game, as a lot of its moves are either just not damage focused enough, or the Pokemon themselves that get good learn sets might not have the stats to back it up a lot of the time. It's even part of the reason that I tend to pick fire starters, because even though I like water starters here and there, grass starters just usually don't fit anything I can really try to make them work with, at least with my general, more aggressive playstyle. Now that I think about it, though, I'm kind of surprised they've never done a different triangle for the starter types in a Pokemon game. Like, where's my Fighting Psychic Dark starter trio, or my Dragon Fairy Steel? Time for another new Pokemon, though. This is Carnivine, a Generation 4 grass type. So it's weak against Flying, Poison, Bug, Fire, and Ice, but it's also immune to ground because this Pokemon will always have the ability to levitate. Carnivine doesn't evolve, and because of that, its stats are a little higher than most. Decent attack stats overall. Kinda slow, and it's not the best at defending, but you could do a lot worse. The big thing from memory is its learn set is pretty limited just from leveling up compared to even some other Pokemon from Gen 4. Most of what you're gonna get for good is probably out of TMs. I remember, I think Jesse had one in the anime, and it was funny, I guess. Or was it James? I want to say it was Jesse. Hello. Lovely weather, isn't it? It's so pleasant, I'm afraid I might doze off. My name is Erika. I'm the leader of Celadon Gym. Oh, you're from Johto, you say? How nice. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you wished to challenge me. I know. I've been training myself on not only flower arrangement, but also Pokemon battle. I shall not lose. Unfortunately, Erika, you're a grass gym and I have a fire starter, so odds aren't in your favor. Erika starts off with her own Jumpluff, Chlorophyll for its ability, so it gets faster under sunlight, and that's actually a potential threat here because about 3/4 of her team has Sunny Day on their movesets. Leech Seed, U-Turn, Giga Drain, and Sunny Day in particular here on the Jumpluff. That Sunny Day, usually the first turn in this battle is going to be dedicated to them using that, so you can at least get a pretty good jump on the first Pokemon. But since every Pokemon on our team has Chlorophyll as their ability, don't be surprised if even with this small level gap and faster Pokemon, if you get outspeeded a lot of the time in this fight. Next up, she's throwing out her own Tangela. Ancient Power, Ring Out, Giga Drain, and Sleep Powder. Leech Seed could be a problem in some of these Pokemon, but Giga Drain is honestly the bigger problem in some cases, because especially if they use something like Sleep Powder on you to put you to sleep, they're just going to get free shots at absorbing your HP into their own, and you really can't do anything about it except for using a Sleep Heal. Awakening, that's the name of that item. But again, Fire Starter and a Grass Gym. Next up, she's throwing out her Victory Bell. Sunny Day, Grass Knot, Leaf Storm, and Razor Leaf. I'd say overall this is the hardest Pokemon in her team despite it being the same level as her final Pokemon. If only because stat-wise it's just the best one overall. Even if the next one's moveset's also more dangerous. It's also gyms like this that really show the importance of type matchups and same type attack bonus more so than just pure level. Because a 9-level difference in still more or less one-shotting a Pokemon means a lot. In fact, I'd say depending on your level curve in Heart Gold Soul Silver, that's more or less going to be essential to how you play the game towards the ending of it, for reasons we'll get into towards Gym 8 and beyond. Or Gym 16 and beyond, technically. And Erika's final Pokemon is a Blossom. Sunny Day, Giga Drain, Synthesis, and Solar Beam. Two of those moves are particularly dangerous. Synthesis restores the user's HP based on weather and time of day, where in harsh sunlight it will restore up to half of their HP. And Solar Beam is a very powerful grass special move. I think it's somewhere over 100 power. The main danger with it is normally when you use Solar Beam, you take a turn to charge up and then fire. It's sort of a reverse Hyper Beam where with that you fire first and then have a recharge turn. When Sunny Day is active, Solar Beam doesn't need to charge, you just fire it off. So say when your first Pokemon use that, you just swap to this immediately, you can immediately use a very high power move with no payback whatsoever. It's absurd. It's probably like the best offense option that Grass types had in the earliest gens from memory. Because I don't think they had a lot of just outright offensive moves, barring like the Leech Seedy kind of Giga Drainy moves until Gen 2 or 3 from memory. Honestly, it's a little funny to me. I can usually remember more or less what gen a Pokemon comes from just by looking at it, because there's usually some trends and designs and all that. So even if I haven't played the game in a while, I can be like, okay, this Pokemon has this and this, it's probably a Gen 6 mon. I'll never remember what generation what move was introduced in, unless it's like specifically certain Gen 1 moves. If only because some get changed, some just get dropped, more get added. I'm fairly certain there's some moves in Sword and Shield I've just never seen because they were from 6, 7, and 8, and I just never saw them used in the playthrough, because I only do main story. And I usually go for ones that just do damage instead of ones that are status boosters. It's very much like what I brought up at the start of the LP. I am a casual Pokemon fan through and through. I play through the new games when they release and try to play the spin-offs when they release, but there's a whole lot I don't know about the series, and I usually learn a bit more every time I play them, but I also don't play them super religiously. I think I brought it up back in Fire Red, but there's those streamers and YouTubers who are entirely Pokemon themed, and I could never do that. For one thing, I can't focus on one thing too much like that anyway, because I need breaks. I know I go for, Platinum Trophies and 100% in a lot of the games I play, but that just means I'll get the 100% and then move on to the next thing. It's not like I'll be like, alright, I finished my Nuzlocke. What's next? Nuzlocke of a different game. Okay. That's just, I can't do that. And if you can, hey, power to you. And I'm happy you can enjoy your time like that. I can't. I think the most I've ever played a single game in a row was spring break of my senior year of high school, where I played through Majora's Mask 4 times in a row, just about. And across that week, I think the shortest playthrough was just under 2 days of waking time. Could I do that again now? Technically, yes. Would I? Probably not. I try to play through that game I try to play through that game once a year at the most. Usually a game that I play multiple times a year, something that's relatively short, like a Metroid Zero Mission or a mobile handheld Zelda game, I guess. Play through an Oracle game every summer or something like that. Either way, that's Erika. Breathes enough fire on it, and she goes down pretty easily, but watch out for that solar beam. It can surprise you thanks to Sunny Day. Looks like I underestimated you. Oh, I concede defeat. You are remarkably strong. I shall give you the rainbow badge. 3 down in as many Kanto parts, technically. That was a delightful match. I felt inspired. Please, I wish you to have this TM19 as a special token. It's Giga Drain. It's a wonderful move that drains half the damage it inflicts to heal your Pokemon. It is indeed a horrifying move. And not for nothing, out of all the Drain-type moves, it's definitely the easiest to use, I think. Losing leaves a bitter aftertaste, but knowing that there are strong trainers spurs me to do better. Alright, thanks, Erika. Mind you, I say 3 badges down in as many parts. We get another one this part. Again, as I mentioned in the last part, because of how short a lot of the routes, especially in Central Kanto, are, doing this spiral route nets you a lot of them very quickly. Again, helps that most of the dungeons in Kanto are in the northern half, because you got Mount Moon up there, you got Rock Tunnel, you got Viridian Forest. Eastern and Southern Kanto doesn't have a lot. But now we're reaching the cycling road. I ignored a cut tree a moment ago, but I should note that the previous routes, Route 16, which we're still technically on right now, is the earliest in the game. I believe you can catch yourselves a Slugma somewhere in the grass just past the cut tree. That's important because if you didn't choose, say, Typhlosion at the start of the game, if you were looking for exclusively a Johto-introduced fire type, you're waiting until now or the Safari Zone. Biker Dale here's got a new Pokemon, though. This is Gulpin, a Gen 3 standalone Poison-type Pokemon, meaning it's weak to Ground and Psychic. Gulpin's got some decent HP and okay defense for a first-form Pokemon, and when it eventually evolves, it gets to be pretty good with HP and defenses, and it's got some okay attack to back that up, but it's nothing super spectacular. It does get some good poison-type moves, at least, so it can take good advantage of its stab. Its two main abilities it can learn are Liquid Ooze and Sticky Hold. Sticky Hold I brought up, I think, during like a muck earlier in the LP. That just prevents items from being stolen from you. Liquid Ooze is interesting, but very limited in use. When a Pokemon who has Liquid Ooze has a draining attack used on them, like Giga Drain, it inflicts damage instead of draining the HP. That means they're basically only going to run into that against grass types, but at least there's a use for it. But just very situational. A lot of the trainers here on Cycling Road aren't much to write home about. A lot of them only have one Pokemon. I should note, though, there are two items here I never grabbed in the LP from memory, and that's because I don't know how to grab them. Somewhere on this side of the road, there is a Max Elixir, and, what's the other thing? Let me look up Bulb here, because there's something else. Max Ether, somewhere on the bridge. And you can see it with the dowsing machine. I just don't know how to stop and actually grab it. Because when you're on the cycling road, you're automatically propelled towards the south because you're going down a hill, basically. Where the bottom of the screen is the bottom of the hill and the top of the screen is the top of it. So there's no real easy way to stop unless I'm just forgetting, like, you can hold down B to stop or something. I don't think I am, at least. Time for another new Pokemon, though. This is Croagunk, one of my favorites from Gen 4. Poison fighting type, meaning it is weak against flying, ground, and psychic. Psychic is a 4 times weakness. It doesn't start out as much, with only some okay attack and speed at most, but when this thing evolves, you get a great physical attacker with some good special attack on top of that is decently fast, but it can't take much punishment. A lot of the learn set it had back in Gen 4 was pretty good for that as well, so honestly, it's one I recommend, and plus it's a poison type that's not tied to grass. Because the biggest problem with Gen 1 and 2, and even a little bit of Gen 3, with the poison type, is that it was usually either a subtype or otherwise to grass and bug in particular, which gave it way more weaknesses than it needed. Poison flying was probably the most interesting poison typing in the original 2 gens. Thanks to the Zubat line. Even then, that took until Crobat to get really useful. Pokemon's learning curve, not only for the players, but for the series itself to realize what it should make for good Pokemon, is an interesting topic. Time for another new Pokemon, though. This is Seviper, a Generation 3 Poison type. Shed Skin for its only ability so it can remove status effects from itself at random. Pure Poison, so it's weak to ground and psychic. This is a very balanced attacker that just can't take much punishment. It never got an evolution, so its stats are basically what they say on the tin. You could do a lot worse, you could do a lot better from memory. And since its attack stats are pretty balanced, what you want to use with it is entirely up to you, really. You can go with the physical moves, like Poison Tail, or you could go with something that's more special, like, I think you can learn Sludge Bomb at some point in one of the generations by leveling up. So you could get some good mileage out of that. I think it's a lot more interesting than using the Arbok and Ekans line, honestly. And time for another new Pokemon, and based on what the trend has been with the bikers, you could probably guess it's Poison type. And you're correct, but it's also a Bug type. Poison Bug type, this is Scorpy from Gen 4. Weak to Flying, Rock, Fire, and Psychic. Scorpy is not much to write home about on their own, just having a pretty good defense stat for a first form Pokemon, but when it evolves, you genuinely get a really good physical defender. With a physical attack stat and speed that's worth enough to actually back it up. And you get a lot of good physical moves as you level it up. Again, if you're looking for poison types, I'd recommend something like that. Gen 4 Beyond really started to do a lot of types more justice. And I'm glad to see it. I'm only showing this fight off, by the way, in case you want to go up this other route, because it's technically required if you want to go at least up or down it. Again, I think there's a Max Ether or Elixir along each of the routes, but again, don't know how to get them. If you could tell me how in the comments, that'd be great. Because by and large, I get most items in the LP, and as I mentioned before, if there's some I missed, tell me, because I genuinely probably just forgot they were there. See, this game being made up of 2 regions, there's a whole lot to grab. You have way too much dialogue, random biker dude. Thanks for the compliments, though, I guess. I always did like the biking road as a concept, though. Like, it's only, I think, in Gen 1, 2, 3, and 4. I don't remember Gen 5 having a biker's road, but it's been a bit since I last played that. It's just always nice to have, like, a you need to do this to go here kind of moment in one of these. And if you want to catch Pokemon in here, because I think you technically can, there's a patch of grass somewhere in here. Usually a lot of the same stuff from the other parts of Gen 1. Raticates, Doduos, I think a Dodrio here and there. Slugma. Maybe some Mucks. Whereas here on Route 18, it's more or less the same stuff. Fearos, Mucks, Grimers, Slugmas. Eventually, when we're able to catch Hoenn and Sinnoh Pokemon, you can catch Plusle, Minans, and Shinxes here. I'm not going to mention every single time you can do that, by the way, because that requires talking about every single route in the game again, and I'm not going to do that. I'll just tell you some highlights from the routes whenever we are able to do that moving forward. I get why you can't just outright encounter Hoenn and Sinnoh Pokemon, because that would probably make this part of Kanto a bit too loaded at first. I do wish you could encounter like 1 or 2 added in the routes, though, just offhand, like the occasional Shinx or Bidoof. Now, we can head through Route 19 at this point in the game. I think you need to at least beat 6 gyms to do that, if not 7. Frankly, I'm unsure. Oh, hey, Balba.
Oh, hi, Kyle. This is Warden Balba. Sorry to have kept you waiting. I thought of a new way to play. It's called Object Arrangement. I'll give you more details at the Safari Zone. See you there.
We'll show that off at some point down the road. I forget the exact point when. Again, we're only about halfway through the recording files, so I don't remember what order I do some things in towards the end of the game. We'll do it eventually, is the point. But that is where the Safari Zone gets a lot new life. For now, let's go in this house, because I actually forgot there's something important in this house to see. My grandpa's and my brother Bill's house on the Cape. So more of Bill's family's around here. And they're naming something very important to do when we eventually get to his house back where it is near Cerulean. For now, let's do the same thing we did last part and beat 2 gyms in one part. You know, legend in the making. Whoops, take a good look around you. The trainers all look like the gym leader, Janine. Which of them is the real Janine? Is the entire point here. They got invisible walls like it was before, but now you actually can't tell they're there until you run into them. There are 5 trainers here, or 6. Only one of them is the real Janine, and if you're looking for the answer right off the bat, she is the second lowest one. Everyone else is just a random trainer that only has 1 or 2 Pokemon of the poison type, usually like a Nidoking, Nidoqueen, I think a Muck in a couple of cases. It's more of a maze here, and I appreciate that, but there's not much of a gimmick here, which is more or less the same as it was back in Gen 1 / Fire Red Leaf Green. Koga's gym was always underwhelming. And I do mean that intentionally for those who don't know, for some reason. The second Elite Four member used to be the gym leader here. In fact, this is his daughter who's the gym leader now. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm only joking. I'm the real deal. Janine at Fuchsia Gym, that's me. Straightforward to the point, I like it. And yes, to those who remember, Janine is who I got Jasmine's name mixed up with back in Olivine. My bad. Janine takes a lot of inspiration from her father to the point where her team is actually very similar in construction. Starting off, she's going to throw out her Crobat, inner focus for its ability so you can't make it flinch, Confuse Ray, Screech, Wing Attack, and Supersonic. Now, you might notice our levels are actually about on parity here. For some reason, in the original game, most of her team was in their 30s in level, when the Elite Four in the original game were in their lower 40s from memory. I get she's meant to be a newer trainer, but come on, that's a negative level curve. And it still is here. I'm glad they boosted the levels somewhat for Heart Gold SoulSilver, but they really should have just made either Kanto a little more linear, or just boosted the levels of every gym leader by more than 7, just so it's at least somewhat of a challenge to start. There's not much to Kanto's battles in a lot of ways, and it's kind of sad because of that. Either way, now that her Crobat's out of the way, she is throwing out her Ariados. Insomnia for its ability, so it'll wake up from sleep pretty quickly. Swagger, Nightshade, Poison Jab, and Pin Missile. Pin Missile and Swagger are the potentially dangerous combo here, because Swagger boosts your attack by a large amount, but then causes you to get confused immediately. And Pin Missile is just it's like the only multi-hit, it's like one of 2 multi-hit moves I honestly like. With that said, since it's Area Dose, breathe fire on it. It'll probably get knocked out. Next up, she's sending out her Wheezing, Levitate for its ability, so ground moves aren't going to work on it. Sludge Bomb, Toxic, Explosion, and Double Hit. Explosion here is actually the biggest threat because very often I find this Wheezing will just go, nah, and sacrifice itself to do mass damage to whoever I'm using to fight it. Remember, Wheezing has high special defense. I just happen to have higher special attack. Next up, Janine is sending out her second Area Dose, because I forgot to mention she has 2 of them. This one still has Insomnia for its ability, but it's got Psychic, Poison Jab, Scary Face, and Pin Missile. I'm not even sure if this is the one that has Psychic, honestly, because in most cases, it's probably not going to get a chance to attack me at all. Something I'm surprised I've never done in a way is just looked at the team for all of the gym leaders here in Kanto and just tried to formulate a difficulty curve about going through them in level order. In most cases, Janine would probably be the first one. But I'm also forgetting what the levels are looking like for the latter 4 we've yet to face. I know which ones are the 2 highest levels, because you're definitely meant to take on the last 2 as the last 2, but for the other 2, I don't remember. Either way, finally, Janine is sending out her own Venomoth like her father. Double Team, Psychic, Sludge Bomb, and Signal Beam holding a Citrus Berry, and it's got tinted lenses for its ability. That's an interesting one. That doubles the damage of any move done by the Pokemon that is not very effective against the target. So in the case it used a Grass-type move against Blaze, its damage would be doubled. In the right circumstances, that can be surprisingly fun to use. With that said, those circumstances are also kind of rare. I see. You defeated Koga, my father, and member of the Elite Four, to come here. No wonder you're strong. You've definitely won. Here's the Soul Badge. Take it. 4 down in 3 parts, technically 2. Kanto flies by a little bit. You're so tough. I have a special gift. It's Poison Jab, a powerful poison-type move that may poison its victim. And I believe I eventually put this on Kenny. I'm gonna really apply myself and improve my skills. I want to become much better than both my father and you. Cool. So now we're mostly done in Fuchsia City. There's a couple things we still need to do. For one thing, there's some items to grab. But where the Safari Zone was in our original trip through Kanto, nothing was there in Gold, Silver, and Crystal because there was no Safari Zone in the original game. But in its place is now a very well-known Gen 4 classic that we're going to be taking a look at next part. But I should also note, there's a particular Jester character here in town, and if you talk to them, they want shards. That's another way you get, like, the usual common berries, is by getting shards by using Rock Smash, and then just giving that to him. Am I doing that? No, but it's there if you want to. Again, things like that were more relevant when the game was the major release. But with that, I'm gonna need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 25, we're gonna check out what's happening over at Pal Park before heading east out of Fuchsia City. See you guys then.